Welcome to the Your Fitness Chick podcast. Become your best self. I'm your host, Abby Smiley Krause. I am a personal trainer, a wellness enthusiast, and I'm not gonna lie, a certified dog-obsessed human. This isn't just another fitness podcast. It's your wake-up call to level up your life. In this podcast, I'll be diving into everything from crushing your workouts to shifting your mindset, because being your best self isn't just about lifting weights, it's about lifting your life. Whether you're here to get fit, find inspiration, or just stop settling for an average life, you're in the right place. We're talking about tapping into your full potential, expanding your horizons, and building a life so good, you'll wonder why you didn't start sooner. So let's lace up, show up, and start making things happen. This isn't just a podcast. It's your permission slip to dream big, work hard, and create the life you've always wanted. Join me here every Tuesday for a fresh episode. Welcome to this episode of the Your Fitness Chick podcast. I'm Abby, your fitness chick, and today I have a returning guest because I loved him so much. We brought him back for round two. So today I have my friend JJ Malvarez on again to talk to us about a variety of topics, but focusing on what he is known for best, his specialty. JJ is an intermittent fasting and keto coach and personal trainer, and has tons of success stories with lots of happy clients. So we're here to educate and inspire you and see if maybe it might be something that you guys might want to chime in on. So welcome, JJ. I should say welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. I'm very happy to be back. The love is mutual. I appreciate it very much that you're having me back. I think the last time we got together, we actually agreed that there was a lot more to talk about. So we needed to do that. I'm glad that you decided to do it. So happy to be here, happy to help you, and happy to help all these people that want to know more about keto and fasting.
Yeah, because it's a topic I'm definitely fascinated with. And actually, it was really kind of funny. This is my third podcast today,
Oh, wow.
and my second. I know. So if I get a little silly, my brain's
Get it
tapped
done.
out.
Get it done.
It might do a 5-second tap out. But the last person that I had who was fascinating, he was talking about some of his go-tos, and one of them was keto. And I said, "Oh, how fun!" I said, "My next guy I'm having, he's a repeat guest. He's a keto and fasting coach." And he's like, "Awesome." He's like, "Send me." I go, "I'll send you the first episode." So keto and intermittent fasting, just like we talked about the first time we were together, it's something that really it comes up all the time. Like I see it on social media. I see it when I'm scrolling through Instagram Reels. I see a lot of people talking about keto, success stories with it. And so I think that I really am fascinated by it because it is a different approach than my approach to weight loss. But like we discussed last time, it's definitely a proven method that works. And I think that, everybody has to find what works for them, because at the end of it all, if somebody is severely overweight and needs to lose weight, they just need to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Whatever way they can find that works for them, it will be ideal, because losing the weight, it's what it matters. Yeah.
Correct. Mm-hmm. So, because I know that not everybody watched the first episode, which if you haven't, I really encourage you to go back into the archives of the Your Fitness Chick podcast and find, I think it was episode 3 or 4, but it's clearly marked keto and intermittent fasting. But why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about your background and how you came into the intermittent fasting and keto world?
Yeah. Well, I like to say that my best description of my background is that I used to be fat, very fat. Okay. I'm only 5'9", and I got to the point that I was 230 pounds. But that was about 20 years ago. Yeah, I'm 56 right now. But in any case, I was always the chubby kid. Okay? My mom told me that if I wanted to be a good boy, eat all your food. So obviously, I wanted to please my mother. I ate all my food plus whatever my sister and my brother left, and everything else I could to show my mother that I was a good kid. Guess what? Terrible relationship with food. I grew up with that. There was no way I could leave 1 ounce of food on my plate because that meant I wasn't a good kid. You know how that goes. And I think a lot of people can identify with a situation similar or close to it. And that's what I find with my clients. They have something in their life that provoke this erroneous relationship with food. And that translated through all my life until I became a personal trainer in 2000. And I started working as a personal trainer. Obviously, as a personal trainer, you're not supposed to do any nutrition advice. You're not supposed. You don't even know anything about that. They don't even teach you that. It's all about exercise. But I always had that in me to realize that there was something else other than just exercising. And obviously, every time I had a new client, the first thing they come out of their mouth is like, "I don't like to exercise." So how can I help them if they don't like to exercise? But also, I know that exercise is not the only thing. For a few years, we're talking about 2016, if I remember well. I'm listening to a podcast, and I started to listen to Jason Fung. Dr. Jason Fung, look it up. Fung. Dr. Jason Fung, yes.
Okay.
He's talking about intermittent fasting. He's pretty much the modern father of intermittent fasting. He's the one that actually brought it back to popularity. And he wrote a book called The Complete Guide to Intermittent Fasting. But in the podcast, here I am at the gym, working out, doing all my things. And he says, you do not lose muscle when you fast. And I'm like, what? I mean, you could have come to me that day and asked me if you could fast, and I just slapped you in the face twice and said, "Go eat burgers, you're gonna lose muscle." But this doctor says that, and I'm like, okay, I gotta find that. What is this about? I bought his book, read it 3 times, applied to myself. My first fast was 24 hours. I was scared as a Bambi in the middle of the forest by myself because I thought I was gonna pass out. I even brought a little jar of sugar with me because I thought I was going to die. That was one of the best workouts that I ever had. And from that moment on, I got hooked on the intermittent fasting. I started talking to my clients if they wanted to do it. I started helping them to do it. I started seeing immediate results. They were happy like crazy. And little by little, I just dug down into the hole. I still digging because it's a never-ending hole, and became this personal trainer that was actually telling people how they should be doing their food and seeing more results. To the point that I said, you know what? I'm not going to be a personal trainer anymore. I'm just going to teach people how to improve their relationship with food so they can actually get results. And if they want to exercise, well, that's part of it, okay? But when it comes down to losing weight, you do not need to exercise. Exercise is the greatest thing you can do for yourself, but it's not to lose weight. In fact, the more you exercise, the hungrier you become. So if you're trying to fast, if you're trying to diet, and you do a lot of exercise, you're gonna be hungry. So you better know what you're eating, and that's it. That's physiologically normal, okay? So little by little, I start coming into it. Then I realized that it's not just about fasting, it's how you break the fast. Because if you're going to fast for 2, 3, 4, 5 days, whatever you want to fast, and then you break it with a bunch of sugar, flour, potatoes, rice, pasta, you just wasted 5 days of fasting. Okay? So I started putting together what it made sense, which is a ketogenic diet with the fasting, because in the end, the two of them achieve the same thing, which is to put you in a ketogenic state. What is a ketogenic state? Well, you start burning fat, and as a secondary product, your body starts producing ketones. And ketones are very, very useful. It's a very good source of energy for the whole body, but even the brain. The brain loves ketone. So the two will do the same thing separately, but when you put them together, it's a great double punch. And so that's the basis of what I do, along with making sure that you improve your relationship with food. Because one key I want to make sure that people understand here, if you do not improve your relationship, it doesn't matter how much fasting, it doesn't matter how much keto, it doesn't matter how much carnivore, it doesn't matter how much exercise you do, you're going to stay where you are. Because relationships are like any other. You can either improve them or get rid of them. Well, you cannot get rid of food. You can only improve it. And so you have to improve the relationship with food. And I utilize keto and fasting as the tools to help you improve that relationship.
So that was a power-packed info right there. So there's a couple things I want to go back to. Okay. So the thing with me with fasting, because I have researched a lot of it. Do I know everything? No. Do I know as much as you? Most certainly not. But the thing that I start to question is this: if people go on extended fasts, they're gonna lose muscle. They're inevitably they're going to lose muscle, because I know, especially these longer fasts that people do, weight loss and fat loss are two different things. And the concern that I get into doing what I do, and this is why I don't think that long duration fasting would be a solution for me. I know that when you fast, you get an improvement in testosterone. I know you get an improvement in your growth hormone. That's why I like to go to bed early, because I know that's also another place where your growth hormones take place. But if you go on a 4 or 5 day plus fast, eventually, or educate me on this, isn't your body going to start depending upon some of that lean mass as a source of energy?
No. Very simple. There is only two real sources of energy in the body: fat and glucose. Okay? Glucose, the amount of glucose in your body to be used as energy, it's depending on the person, maybe an hour. Okay? That's all you got. That's why you see marathon runners, sipping on gels or drinks or something with sugar after an hour or so, because they're already depleted. Okay? Now it comes fat. Why is it that the body stores fat? Well, why is it that we get fat? Because we are saving energy for the future. We're trying to avoid starvation, because it's a natural thing, because back in the days where we're running with a leaf in between our legs, okay, we were not eating every 3 hours. We were not going to bed at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. We were running from something or running after something, and most of the time we went days without eating. That's the case. And so fasting is natural. It comes genetically in us. Okay, that's why so many good effects come with fasting. Because what the body does, okay, this person is not being able to catch something. Let me push him with some adrenaline. Let me push him with some endorphins. Let me push him with all these hormones, so it becomes a better hunter. Now, you're right. The longer the fast, any extreme is a problem. Okay. Now, understand one thing. As long as there is fat in your body will not go after the muscles. Because not only it doesn't want to, not only it's difficult, not only understands that if it does that, it's going to just weaken the body. But why would I go after a protein when I still have fat? So there's a difference between fasting and starvation. Starvation happens once you don't have any more fat. You're going to start burning other tissues. Obviously, it'll be muscle. Okay? But as long as it's fat, and trust me, we all have a lot of fat on us. Okay? It's not going to happen. Now, what happens is this. A lot of people, because they eat a little, they fast, they're eating less, they become a little too sedentary. And so if muscles don't have a stimulus of any kind, obviously muscles go back. Your body's very smart about dealing with energy. And if there is something that is demanding energy, but it's not being used, why would I keep giving it energy? I'm wasting it. So if you have a bunch of muscle, but you're not using it, but they're demanding energy, your body's going to go, you know what? Let's take this down because we're not using it. Then let's save this energy for something else. Okay? So understand that, like I said before, exercise is not necessarily for losing weight, but is necessary to keep your muscles. So if you do a fast correctly, if you keep well hydrated, you're going to have all the energy you have to work out as hard as you can while you're fasting. There is no reason for you not to have all the energy that you need to do your normal workout. And so by doing that, you guarantee to keep your muscles. Will you grow? No, because there is no protein coming in, obviously. I mean, in order to build muscle, you have to have protein. There is autophagy in the process of fasting, which is the recycling of tissues and taking what's bad and putting it into new ones. Yes, but that's not a process that supports growth. Okay? And so, yeah, even though you will not grow, you will not lose or lose much less if you stay active while you fast. I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, that does make sense. But also, I know, with exercise, definitely that helps, and I understand that. Thank you. But with exercise, for me, what I tend to understand, or what I know actually, is that when you work out and you build more lean mass, your metabolic rate becomes better. So essentially, that's the backdoor approach to losing weight, right?
Okay, let's establish here, what do you mean by your metabolic rate becoming better? Because based on applying that, the way you said it, the more you exercise, the better it becomes. What is the limit? What does it mean becomes better? You see what I'm saying?
Well, because it takes more caloric intake, it takes more for the body to burn when you have more lean mass. So when you're building on a structure that has more lean
Yeah,
mass to it,
yeah.
your metabolic rate ascends. So, like if my basal metabolic rate now, if I'm sedentary and I don't move a muscle to keep my lights on and to just keep my body functioning, I would say my basal metabolic rate's probably 14, 15.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, I figure out what you're saying. Okay, yes, obviously,
Right.
the
But then,
more the more lean tissue you have, the higher metabolic rate will be. Correct.
right. So I'm not saying I disagree with what you're saying. I just don't want people to get confused with what you're saying. So I always say you should exercise and then you should decide what kind of caloric deficit you're going to go into. And if that caloric deficit is through dieting, which I hate that word,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
or is it through restricted
yeah.
eating, okay, they go together. To really, for me, what I say when people say they want to lose weight, but they say they're going to not diet or they say they're not going to exercise, I say that's like trying to push a car uphill that has no gas and say you're going to get gas when you get to the top of the hill. I mean, they really do go
Yeah,
together
yeah,
for best
yeah.
results,
Oh,
for best
no,
results.
absolutely, absolutely. And all my clients ask me, well, can I exercise? I said, well, not only you can, but I encourage it. But that doesn't mean that if you don't, you will not lose the weight. Okay. And to
Correct.
me,
I just wanted to clarify
like,
because I know the way that I teach my people, they're going to be going, wait, what? So that's why I just want to
I
interject
agree.
with
No, I
with
agree.
what
I don't want to people misunderstand that they can sit on a couch and do nothing and they're gonna lose weight. They will, but they're also gonna lose more than that. You see what I'm saying? Because
correct.
bottom line, our problem in our society is not necessarily that we're more sedentary, is that we're eating too much of the wrong things. Period. Okay? Because in reality, if you look at nature, humans are always looking to do everything the easiest way. We're lazy by nature. Why? Because we're always trying to save energy. Why? Because it's not easy to get energy in nature. Okay, so we're always trying to do the least possible. That's normal. Okay, so the problem is that we have a endless supply of garbage that we can eat, and we don't have to do anything to go get it. They just open the refrigerator and boom, you got whatever you want. And so that's the imbalance right there. And so obviously, becoming active helps to the whole process. But in the end, if you don't improve the relationship with food, I mean, there is nobody I admire more than bodybuilders. And I think bodybuilders have never been given the importance that they have, because there's nobody more exact when it comes to eating than a bodybuilder. I mean, these people go down to the grams, like we were talking before. They go down to the minute that they sleep. They go down to their last rep. These people are perfectionists. And what I'm trying to say here is that these people should be studied a lot closer, because nobody builds bodies better than bodybuilders. And that has to do hugely with food and exercise. Okay? Now, not everybody wants to be a bodybuilder, and that's what I always say. But the principles behind it are there. And they've been there for over, 80 years now that bodybuilding exists or more. So,
Yeah. So I love, though, I've seen tons of your before and after pictures. You have lots of clients always giving really great testimonies. So before we go into diving a little deeper, talking about relationships with food, let's talk about, just again, for the people who didn't hear the first episode, um, with keto and fasting. Okay, let's talk about intermittent fasting, which is also known as restricted
yeah.
eating. Okay, if somebody was, let's say somebody wants to lose weight, which most people do,
Mhm.
right? That's the majority of the people that we're speaking to. Most people aren't doing what I'm trying to do. I know that. People want to lose weight so they can be healthier, so they can live longer, so they have more mobility and longevity and all that good stuff. So if somebody wants to start on the journey of intermittent fasting, they have no clue. They've never done it before. And as I mentioned in the last episode, we all do it. People may not realize this, but when you're sleeping, you're fasting,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So if somebody's brand new to the world of intermittent fasting, and let's say, I don't know what your typical client looks like. I'm guessing they want to lose an average of 40 pounds
Oh,
plus.
yeah. Correct. Correct.
Okay. Where, I mean, obviously you customize the program to the individual
Yeah.
based on the medications they're
Yeah.
on, their goals, their health conditions, etc. But on an average person, what does the fasting schedule look like? Do you like to do a 16-8? Do you like to do a full day? Let's go 2, 3 days hardcore, see what you got? Or what do you recommend? What does that look like for a person
That's
who
a
wants to start and doesn't know where to begin?
that's a great question, because whatever they decide to do dictates, in my experience, the one that is going to be successful and the one that is not. Not always, but it happens. And so I have what's called my extreme clients. I have the ones that they will jump head first and never come out for air until they are done, and I'll explain what I mean by that. And I have the other ones that I have to grab it by the hand, minute by minute, and show them that they're okay. If they don't eat for a couple hours, they won't die. And so it's just funny. That's part of what I love about working with people, because there's people of all kinds. Now, what I like to do is I like to teach you. I want to give you all the education you need to fast up to 5 days. 5 days without food. Okay? I'm not gonna force you. I'm not gonna demand that you do it. You're gonna have the knowledge to do it. If you decide to do it, you go for it. Why 5 days? Well, it's not because it's better than four, or it's dangerous if you go six. No, it's because it seems like 5 days is extreme, but not too extreme for a lot of people. Okay, so I found like a middle right there. So I'm gonna teach you that. Then what it comes to you is you decide what you want to do. You want to do 16 hours. You want to do 24. You want to do 48. I'm going to start you with you deciding where do you feel you should start. And as a coach, I'm going to take you through it and show you. And whatever you decide, I'm going to help you achieve that. And so what happens is that as the time goes by, people get more confident. more practice. It's like any other activity. You practice, you get better at it. Okay. And most clients come down to an average of 3 days fasting, 1 day eating, 3 days fasting, 1 day eating, blah blah blah. Okay, and that seems to be the easiest average way that most clients fall into. I have the extreme ones that go 5 days, boom, 90 days, 90 pounds. That's it. 5 days at a time. Perfect health.
So they go 5 days on. They go 5 day fast, 1 day eating, 5 day fast, 1 day eating,
Yes,
5 day fast, 1 day.
yes.
Holy cow!
Yes, and the health is fine, and they drop medicines, and they feel better than ever. Listen, what shocked me the most the first time I heard it, I hear it more often, obviously, but the first time I heard it was a woman that needed to lose 250 pounds, and she said to me that she wishes she didn't have to stop her fasting because she felt better while fasting than when she ate. And I'm talking about 5 day fasting. She wanted to keep going. I said, listen, I know what you're saying, but let's not go to extremes, okay? I think this pace is fine. If you are healthy, you're feeling well fasting with 5 days, let's continue that. Let's not go too far. Okay. But if she were to say, no, I'm gonna do 10 days, I can stop her. Okay. I would support her. And you know what? She would be fine. She would be perfectly fine. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are the extremes. And like I said, the other extreme is those that come to me and they think that if they don't eat every 2 hours, they're gonna die. And so I have to hold them by the hand. you know. And, well, I used to be there. I used to be there. I used to promote that. I used to promote, 3 meals, 3 snacking, blah blah blah. Otherwise, no. So yeah, it was a big transformation for me mentally and physiologically, because that's another part of this process. Yeah, first, your mind. For 40, 45 years, I was told not to eat fat. And to me, eat fat was a sin. And so
Right.
to enter the ketogenic diet realm was really hard for me psychologically, but also physiologically because my body wasn't ready to start processing all the fat that you eat when you enter that process. Your bile, if you don't use it, it stops producing bile or produces very little. All of a sudden, you put a bar of butter in your system, and your bile's like, whoa, whoa, what is this? Now, this is going down the same way it came in. Okay? So, one of the things that I teach people is that, okay, if you've been avoiding fat for a long time, we need to build up your bile so you can digest fat better. And that happens between 5, 7 days. They're good.
Okay, so I have tons of questions.
Yeah, bring it.
Okay, so let me go back to, okay. Let's say I'm curious about this 5 day fast, 1 day eating, 5 day
Hmm.
fast. So 5 day fast. What does somebody get besides water? Anything?
Oh, absolutely.
Nothing.
Absolutely. Okay. Good question. Good question
Okay,
because,
what do you get?
yeah, this
Okay.
is key. This is key. And I want people to understand that going 5 days with just water, it's possible. You're just going to be miserable. Miserable. Okay. There's still
And
way.
so is everybody
What was that?
around you. So is everybody around you and who lives with you.
No, no, no.
Because you're gonna be an
No,
asshole.
no.
You're gonna be so hungry.
Yeah.
You're gonna be hangry.
Well, I tell you what, it's very interesting because until you know how good you can feel, you don't know how good you feel. And so
Right, true
it,
that.
it is it
No, I
is
really.
it is something that I tell my clients, listen, at least once try it. If you fail, you fail. You're not gonna do anything. You're not gonna die. Nothing's gonna happen. But try and see what happens. And so there is 3 ways of fasting. There is a dry fast, which is no water, maximum 48 hours. It's ridiculous. It is mostly a religious thing. If you do it for religious
Oh,
purposes, that's fine. But no, I don't do that. That's not recommended. There is really no benefits out of it. Then you got just water fast, which is perfectly fine, but you're gonna be bed bound. You're going to have what's called the keto flu, which is really not a
oh,
flu. It's just that you're depleted of electrolytes. And when you have
ah,
electrolytes, you feel like crap. Okay, so yeah,
Sure.
if you want to do it, but you're gonna be in bed all day or all days, whatever days you do it. And so what I do is I teach
Yeah.
people how to support their fast taking electrolytes. Key electrolytes are
Okay.
sodium, potassium, and magnesium. Okay,
Okay.
as you fast, the longer you fast, the more important is that you replete those because those are the ones that are going to be flushed out. You got to remember,
Okay.
the first thing that happens to your body when you start fasting is that you eliminate glucose from your body, and a lot of that
Okay.
glucose is attached to water. That's why people are inflamed, and that's why you
Okay.
lose 10 pounds in 3 days. It's mostly water, which is fine. That's
Yeah.
good. You needed to lose that. But with that water goes a ton of electrolytes that your body needs to stay active. And so, as you're doing this, you need to support your body with a good amount of electrolytes in order to have a comfortable fast. And it's funny because I have clients that don't take any and they just do it. I don't understand because I can't. Okay. And then you have others that take it religiously and they still feel like crap. So, we're humans. Everybody's different. But in
Yeah.
general, if you support your fast with a good amount of electrolytes, you'll be fine. The number one question, the number one answer that I give to what is the secret to fasting, my number one answer is always salt, pink salt, good salt, not the table salt, not the white salt, good Celtic or sea salt or pink salt. Why is that different from table? Because it has a lot of more macronutrients in it, a lot of more minerals, which are part of your electrolytes. Sodium table salt, forget about it. Don't even look at it.
So during the 5 days, they're just doing water. Do they get to have limitless water, or is there a cap on that?
Any flavorless liquid, any calorie less liquid is fine. You gotta be a
Okay.
little bit careful when it comes to lemon or limes, because they're
Acidic.
fruit. There's a tiny bit of
Yeah.
fructose in them. Some people are
Yeah.
affected more than others. I am one of those that if I use lemon while fasting, it affects me. So I don't use it while fasting. But normally,
Okay.
if I am drinking water once in a while, I use a lemon or a lime. Not as much anymore, but I do. Um, but yeah, you gotta be careful with anything that has some type of calories, and also be very careful with artificial sweeteners because
Right.
they will activate dopamine in your brain, and that dopamine
Right.
is going to activate insulin, and that insulin is gonna make you hungry. So yeah. So black coffee, tea, bubbly waters. The cleaner, the better. Regular, good amount of water. Obviously, try to obtain a good spring water. Don't do purified water. Don't do Dasani. Don't do any of that. Purify. No, it has to be spring water because spring water naturally comes with higher amounts of electrolytes. Yeah.
So that's all that they get for 5 days.
That's
That's
all
why
you
it's called
need.
fast.
That's all you need.
Okay. Okay. So then let me ask you
Yeah.
this. Because as somebody who's like, oh my God, you got to get in all your vegetables and you got to get in all your nutrients and your vitamins and you're going to get scurvy, your teeth are going to fall out. So if somebody's on a 5 day fast, 1 day eating schedule, number one, on that 1 day of eating, obviously it depends on the person based on their weight. Like, do they just eat from the time they get up to the time they
No,
go to
no,
bed, like
no, no,
4
no, no. No. Uh, it's more important what you break your fast with and when you break it than the fast itself. Okay?
Okay,
Because
so
the
tell me what
number,
that looks like.
so several things happens while you're fasting. Number one, your stomach shrinks, which is fantastic. Okay? The
Right.
least that balloon expands, the better it's for you to maintain, and you get your six pack and all this stuff. So that comes later. Um, so your stomach shrinks, so you're not going to be able to eat a lot because you're going to feel full really quick. And number two, your levels of insulin are down in the floor, normal. Not that, your body regulates that perfectly fine. Okay, it's not like it's going to go to the point that you're going to die. No, they just come down to normal. And what you want to do is make sure you don't spike them like crazy again. Okay, which is the key of having intermittent fasting and keto together. Fasting puts you in the state of ketosis. Keto will maintain it. So then after you eat, you can go back to fast and still be in ketosis. That's why you put the two and two together. So how do you break a fast? Well, you got to be very gentle with your body because now you're going to restart that machinery again. And obviously, the longer the fast, the more it's going to take for that machine to start again. And so the easiest way usually that I recommend, it's a cup of broth. If you make it yourself, it's better with 1 or 2 boiled eggs. Put that down, wait a half an hour. Everything should be fine. There are some cases, it happens to me maybe.
I have to interrupt you for 1 second.
Yeah.
That would be the best freaking tasting cup of broth and 2 boiled eggs that you ever had.
Yeah. It is. And make sure you put a little bit of salt on both. So, yeah,
Oh
it is.
my God, you'll
Yeah.
feel like you just
But
died.
you'll be
with that.
surprised. You'll be surprised. 90% of people that finish a long fast, when I say a long fast is 3 days or more, they're not really hungry. They're not going like, "Ah, I gotta eat." No. That's after 24 hours, 48 max. Your body's pretty much, on idle and going and burning fat. I'm like, I'm happy. Leave me alone. And that's why I said before, a lot of people say, I feel so good when I'm not eating. Mentally clear, energized, feeling good. It's a big change. So,
Well, because also the lady that you were talking about, the one that needed to lose the 200 pounds plus, she was probably had such high insulin all the time because she was eating shit.
inflamed.
That's why she was feeling so much better.
Absolutely.
Besides
Oh, yeah.
reasons.
Yeah. I mean, this is the number one cure to inflammation, which is the number one cause of most of our illness, inflammation.
Correct.
So fasting is medicine, free medicine. Because there's nothing you have to do. There's no money to spend. Just not eat. It's a beautiful thing.
I love that you just said that. The gentleman that I was speaking with earlier on my other podcast that I had today, he was talking about how his father is a diabetic and he's on metformin, which, is got so many bad side effects, but it serves a purpose, and if people need to take it, they should take it. Okay. But he was saying that he was a vet, this person, not his dad, but the vet. This vet was at a doctor's appointment, and there was a vet there that was diabetic also, like his father. And the vet said, you know what? I think the government's hiding and sitting on the cure for diabetes. And this gentleman that is going to be on my next podcast, he said, actually, they're not. There is already a cure. It's called what you do or do not put in your mouth.
Yeah, exactly.
To a certain extent,
Yeah.
because I know that it can be genetically imposed. Okay, but we do have control over a lot of it.
Oh, absolutely. The genetic cases are 1%, maybe. Okay. And usually, when a baby's born diabetic or with a diabetic gene, it's because their mother was already causing it by having those issues already. So if she would not have done what she was doing, so it's more like a avoiding thing than whatever you're doing. If you avoid doing this, you don't get diabetes. So stop eating crap.
So going back to I'm still intrigued about this day of food.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you start off with a couple boiled eggs in the broth.
Yeah.
You make sure that your body doesn't convulse.
Yeah. So
And then
it's a go ahead.
what do you eat the rest of that day?
Yeah.
And how are you ensuring that you're getting enough vitamins and nutrients for your body?
Okay. So yeah, it's a test run to see how your body reacts. Like I said, some people might have a little diarrhea. Most people don't. I have had cases where I do. I have cases where I don't. It depends on what the body is trying to do. So after about half an hour, if you feel well, then you will have a regular keto meal. Okay? And so I like to explain to people that keto is not about fat. Keto is about low carbs. The lower the carbs, the better. Okay? And obviously, whatever carbs you're eating has to be the right carbs, the ones that have the least amount of sugar. So you should be eating anything that grows above ground except fruits, cereals, and seeds. Okay? I'll
Okay.
let that
No
sit there.
fruit. You don't.
What's that?
You don't eat any. You don't eat any fruit.
You shouldn't eat any fruit. No.
No.
Too much sugar.
Okay. But what about? That's so hard for me. What about like watermelon and bananas and any kind of berries that are considered to be lower in sugar?
Berries. Berries are
Okay.
part of the ketogenic world, yes, because they're very low in sugar. But I'm going to bring you a good, that's a good point because unfortunately, we are being deceived by modern world. You and I are about the same age. I think you remember when you were little, I was always a sucker for raspberries. And raspberries used to be little things like this. I don't know if you remember. And they used to be very sour. You remember that? I'm sure people in the audience remember that. They were little and sour. Look at a raspberry today. It's this big and as sweet as a grape. Genetically modified, they're not what they used to be. So when people say, "Oh, but I can have berries," yeah, but they're not what they used to be either, because they're huge and they're modified to taste and have more sugar. So you gotta be careful.
Yeah.
The point is that you got to avoid sugar at all costs. Okay, and you gotta understand that any carbohydrate, any, doesn't matter, the good, the bad, the processed, the non-processed, will turn into sugar in your body. All of them. There is no exception. Okay? And the sugar that is not used will turn into fat. That's the norm. That's what your body does. And so if you're trying to lose fat, what you need to do is lower the carbs so your body doesn't turn any of that into fat. And now, because your body doesn't have enough to use from the carbs, it goes after the fat. What happens is that a lot of people, they say about 80% of the population in the world is insulin resistant. In other words, insulin is no longer capable of doing what it needs to do. And so what happens is that it can no longer activate the cell fat to take in the extra calories that we're bringing in. And with that same thing, it's stopping the cell fat to go, hey, I need to take out some fat so I can stay in shape. So it's a double whammy. You're not being able to put it in, and you're not being able to burn it. That's why the ketogenic diet and the fasting is so important, because as soon as I lower the insulin to normal levels, now the fat cells are going, oh, now I can burn fat here. Take it. The body wants to get rid of that, but if the levels of insulin are high, no fat is burned. Understand that. Every time you eat carbohydrates, you spike your insulin. Every time you spike your insulin, you're not burning fat. Period. As
Yeah.
simple as that.
It's simple, but it's not complicated. It's simple, but it's not easy to do.
And I want to remind you that I was there. I'm not talking just because I learned this from a book. I used to be a fatso. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to insult anybody. I was, okay? I used to eat all this stuff. I used to eat donuts, fruits. I used to follow the diet. Oh, all your vegetables, your fruit, blah, blah, blah. And I still couldn't get it. It took me this long, about 6 years ago, to understand fasting, ketogenic diet. Carbohydrates are not essentially necessary for the body. There's not one carbohydrate that your body actually needs. And that brings me to the point of you saying, how do you get all your nutrients? Okay. Well, we have been told to believe that all the nutrients that we need, all the vitamins, it's from the colorful vegetables and all this stuff. Well, when was the last time you saw a lion eating colorful stuff? Fruits, What does a lion
I
eat?
don't know. I don't hang out with lions. I'm kind of scared of them.
Well, that's a good thing. That's a good fear that you should keep. But
I get what you're saying.
yeah, these mono eaters, okay, these animals or beings that eat just one thing, how do they survive? Because based on what we think, they should be having other stuff in order to get all their nutrients. And somebody says, well, they have different digestive system. No, they don't. The felines, the dogs, the wolf, their digestive system is very similar to ours. In fact, back in the days, we used to do a lot of testing and a lot of research on dogs until we got smarter and we said, well, dogs are too pretty, stop using them for that. And the reason we used to do them is because their digestive system is very, very similar to ours. And they are
Yeah.
carnivores, 100% carnivores. Okay? And so what we're discovering is that the least carbs you eat, for example, to bring up the scurvy and the vitamin C part. First of all, there is vitamin C in beef. It's just not in the amounts that we think. And number two, the least carbohydrates you eat, the least demand for the body to need vitamin C. You needing vitamin C because you're eating carbohydrates. And don't take my word for it. There's plenty of research out there. There's plenty of documents out there talking about, and that's what I read. That's what I do. I never thought that I was going to be reading medical papers and such, but I'm getting to the point that I love that stuff because it's so interesting. And so,
It's
yeah, I'm gonna go to my extreme. Okay, there is no need for carbohydrates. If a client tells me I don't like carbohydrates, I don't want to eat any. I don't want to eat any vegetables. I go like, fantastic. Go carnivore, buddy. That's the best thing you can do. If someone comes to me and says, I miss my carbohydrates, I miss my vegetables, can I eat some vegetables? Fine. As long as you keep it, down. A good ketogenic diet has to stay under 30 grams of carbohydrates to actually function correctly.
okay. You're so great. That's a lot of good info.
Thank you.
So, this is, I always think from the thought of the person listening to this.
Yeah.
And so if I was a person that needed to lose weight, and I've been there before too. I've been a size 0 and I've been a size 18 plus. So I get that too. But if I'm a person that needs to lose weight, would or would you not agree that they probably already have an unhealthy relationship with food, right?
Oh,
That's why they're overweight.
absolutely. That's my number one question.
So if I have an unhealthy relationship with food, and most of the unhealthy relationship with food is from excessive carbohydrate, high insulin, the bliss point they put on foods, because manufacturing companies are actually hiring engineers to manufacture companies to make food that are addictive, right? They're already wanting carbohydrates. They crave carbohydrates. And let's say they go through a fast and they're able to lower the insulin levels. And obviously, with that, the cravings diminish. But because of their unhealthy relationship with food, they get triggered, right? Like, let's say they have a traumatic event happen, which challenges happen every freaking day. So they head for the carbohydrate comfort, which is what they're known to their go-to is. So I just ask you, how do you get somebody who has this unhealthy relationship with food to now stay in this contained food environment?
Yeah, yeah. That's the most difficult part of what I do. I can lead them to the water, but I cannot make a drink. Right? It's that way.
Right.
For many years, I kept saying that we should be treating obesity just like we're doing drug addiction and just like we're doing alcohol addiction, because there is no difference. And the reason I used to say that, three reasons. Number one, I saw it on myself. Number two, I saw it on my mother. And number three, I had a client that used to be an alcoholic. I asked him to describe to me what that was. And when he did, just to make this short, when he did, I said, this is no different from what I feel about food and what I see my mother doing with food. This is an addiction. And finally, we're starting to accept that. It is an addiction for the simple fact that sugar creates a dopamine dependence, just like cocaine, just like alcohol. Period. Okay? So I'm dealing with addicts. And the first thing I try to do with them is to make them recognize that. Okay? I ask him, do you think your relationship with food is good? You got some, someone like, no, come on. You wouldn't be talking to me if you think your relationship was good. So say it. You got to say it. No, it's not a good relationship with food. So now, once I get that recognition, I need to dig down a little bit more. I'm not going to go too far here because this is long. But you will always pair their bad relationship with food to either another human being, whether it's husband, father, mother, or kids, or an emotional moment that started this process. Bottom line, it's all emotional. Bottom line, it's all here. Bottom line, this whole thing is 90% mental, 10% practice. So I might be a keto and fasting coach, but I got a degree in psychology that I never thought I even went to school for, because I have to dig into it. I have to find out, why are these people using food in this way? Why are they abusing food this way? What are they trying to cover up? What are they trying to not think about? And if people are listening to me, think about that. There's something you're trying to cover up, or something that is bothering your head, or there is a behavior that you were taught, like my mother taught me to be a good kid, that you have to discover. And once you put it in front of you, become conscious about it, now we can do something about it. In the meantime, you're just an automat. You're just reacting to it without even knowing you're having this problem. And so I dig onto that first, because I need people to work on that. Because yeah, you can learn how to do keto perfectly. You can learn how to do fasting perfectly. But if that doesn't come out of your head, you're going to go right back to it.
And I see it. I actually have a particular client. She was over 200 pounds, and she's fought her weight her entire life, like many people have. And she was doing really great. She was on Wegovy, which I will say very clearly I'm against those drugs. With semaglutide drugs, I am not for them at all. I think they're going to create an epidemic, and I will say this, you can write it in my own blood. We're going to see some tragic effects of this semaglutide trend. But with that being said, she was doing really good. She was working out, but fell off the wagon. Now she's back on Ozempic. And it's heartbreaking to me, because she gained all the way back, because she keeps repeating. History keeps repeating itself. And, I try to help them as much as I can. But like you said, you can lead the horse to water, but you can't make him drink. I literally would cook. If I cooked food for her and literally fed it to her, but I wasn't with her 24/7 when I left, it would happen. So, I think that that's something that's a really good point, that you cannot change what you do not acknowledge.
Correct.
If you do not say out loud, I have a problem with food, obviously, if they're overweight, like I have a dysfunction, and that's not a shame.
No.
That's not oh my God, I'm a failure. Look at me. It's a proud, courageous first step into recovery and taking control. Mm-hmm. And taking control back and getting the life that you deserve, right?
Yeah. And
so
being there made me very empathetic with people, because I know how that feels. I was there. And so I know how hard it is. And even now, my kryptonite is bread. You put bread on me and I go, take it away, because it is that strong. But, I have a lot more control now that I know it's not good for me. Now that I know that it can be dangerous, at least one thing I do is I don't buy it. I don't bring it home. And that's one way to do it. But yeah, we all have our own kryptonite, and I make people identify that. And the funny part is this, just as a funny note, is that I never get somebody say, oh my God, I can stop eating bacon. It's bacon all day long. Or, oh my God, it's steak, or liver. I can only eat liver. That's all. No, it's always a carbohydrate. It's donuts, sweet, pasta, bread, sugar. That's what makes you addicted. Everything else doesn't. So what a coincidence.
Yeah, sugar 8 times more addictive than cocaine, they say. So, I think that in the same breath that I'm saying, how do we take these people who have a dysfunctional relationship with food and put them in this? In the same breath, I'm also saying this could be the perfect formula for somebody that just they need that box.
Yeah. Yeah.
For somebody who's like they've tried, like this particular woman I just was
Yeah.
talking about, who her whole
Yeah.
life she's been on the diet
Yeah.
roller coaster and she can't get a grip on her emotional
Yeah.
triggers. Well, sometimes we have to reverse engineer it. Maybe if you put somebody in the box of this carnivore, keto, fasting
Yeah.
world,
Yeah.
they know what the formula is. There's no guesswork with it, right? You
Yeah.
basically go, this is what
Right. It's
this
simple.
is what you do.
And the simpler you
Right.
keep it, the easier it's for them. People say, "Oh, you're gonna make me keep recipes and all this stuff." No, 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 no. There's no recipes. Eat a piece of meat and a carbohydrate approved from the list that I'm gonna give you. That's all you have to do. So if you're gonna go out, you're gonna look at the menu online and pick this. Or as soon as you get to the restaurant, you tell them no bread. Don't bring it to the table, and bring me a piece of chicken with broccoli. Any restaurant you go will have a piece of chicken or a piece of beef with a broccoli, and they'll be glad to put it there for you. So there is no excuses. Okay, it's our choices whether we go out and order the right thing or not. And I want to get to the point where people lose importance to food. Not that you hate food. There's no point of hating food. But where food is not as important to you. I want you to be the boss of food, not food the boss of you. Right now, people are being bossed around by food. Everywhere you see it. Everywhere. And so, no,
One,
it's got to be
one,
reversed. You boss food around. You tell food who you are and when you're going to eat it. And you're also going to tell food, you know what? I'm not going to eat you because you're bad for me. It sounds childish, but that's the way it is.
and that's a form of self-respect and self-love. The biggest form of self-respect and self-love is taking care of your body.
Right.
And I don't think that, I know that the people who get excited about food, I get excited about food too. I mean, not like how I used to, honestly, but that's because I don't look at food as my source of
It's
happiness,
not fun. It's not
right?
about fun.
Because now I'm actually just a truly happy
Right.
person because I work out, I feel good, I feel confident, I sleep good, I just love my life. And so I think that food is just a vice, just like the alcoholics that you talked about earlier. I used
Right.
to use alcohol as a vice too. I was the party queen, let me tell you. I led the pack.
I can see that.
I was, man. Let me tell you. But I'm going to tell you, that it was the most unhappy time of my
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I was just trying to escape it. And that's what people do with
Yeah.
food
We're surrounded
too.
by
And
food,
so,
and food is fun.
well, food, it starts as an early age, just like you were mentioning about how when you were growing up, your mom said, eat all your food
Hmm.
to be a good boy. But food in America, it's a reward,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Because like when I was little, my parents had good intentions, but when I went to the doctor, they'd be like, "Hey, if you're good, afterwards we'll go get a Happy Meal,"
Boom.
right?
Yeah.
For all of our social celebrations, shit, even the celebrations that aren't ours, like Cinco de
Yeah.
Mayo, we always are looking for a reason to drink
What
margaritas
about a
and eat
funeral?
Mexican.
People feed you in a funeral when you're supposed to be sad and not be hungry.
It's comfort. It's comfort.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just what people have been taught at a very early
Mhm.
age. And so as we're wrapping up, I think that people just have to acknowledge their dysfunctional relationship with food, right? And how does someone, as we're wrapping up here, I mean, we've already mentioned a couple things, but how does someone really set themselves up to be successful with keto and intermittent fasting? If there were just a few things that you would tell someone who's never fasted before, who's never been in ketosis, who are intentionally anyway, who needs to lose a lot of weight because their health, there's no time to play around anymore.
Hmm.
What would you tell them? A couple tips on how they could be successful in doing it.
Well, the main thing that I always try to find out is why. Why are you doing it? Okay, and 99% of people always answer, "Well, I want to be healthy," and I go, "And you think anybody else isn't?" Everybody wants. Do you know anybody that doesn't want to be healthy? So no, that doesn't work. That doesn't motivate anyone, because if that was the case, nobody had the problem they have. Why is it that you want to do it? And it comes down to one simple
I
one,
remember.
and it's called vanity. Vanity, vanity, vanity. I'm one. I'm guilty. Okay. I like to look good. But who doesn't? Who doesn't like to look good? Tell me. Not nobody. Now, you got to be careful. Don't let vanity get to your head, and then now you think you're, the biggest. No, use it as a good way to motivate yourself. Hang a dress somewhere that you don't fit anymore in, and you see it every day. Grab a picture of when you used to look very good and put it in your bedroom or in front of the refrigerator, so every time you open it you look at, little things like that to remind you the reason why you're doing this. Now, I have all the reasons, like people say, well, I want to live longer so my grandchildren can enjoy me. Fabulous. When you do this for somebody else that you care about, is very powerful. When you take this away from you and try to please somebody else in that way, not just because, oh, if I don't do it, my husband is not going to love me. No, that doesn't work either. Okay. It has to be you for you. Okay. But if you do it like that for children to enjoy grandma and grandpa more, oh, I mean, or mom and dad living longer so kids have their parents longer, that is very powerful. So number one is always the reason why and how powerful that can be. Also, think about, if you don't achieve that, how are you going to feel? Is it going to matter? Yes. Is it going to matter? No. Well, everybody's different. Okay. The other thing is, keep it simple. I used to watch the food channel every night, every night. No wonder I was so heavy. No wonder I was eating all the time, because I used to love to cook. Guess what? I don't care about cooking. I don't care about ingredients. Full disclosure, I became a carnivore. Okay, it's a regular evolution of the ketogenic diet. If you want to do it, simply because I never care about vegetables anyway. But the simpler you keep this, the better. Clients ask me, can I repeat the same meal every day? Yeah, absolutely. Why not? There's no problem with that. Okay, that keeps it simple. Cook ahead. Always have a source of protein, whether it's steak, beef, ground beef, shrimp, seafood, fish, something in the refrigerator that you can just grab and eat it. Okay, take the least amount of time in the kitchen as possible, because that's the place where you get in trouble. And obviously, whatever you're not supposed to eat, don't bring it home. Just don't bring it home.
Yeah, it's not there. You
Right.
can't eat it.
If you have any temptations
Yeah,
at night, unless you go out and get it, you're not gonna have it at home. You're not gonna eat it.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I think those are some really, really good points. And I think at the end of the day, I mean, again, we are around the same age. For me, I I get I get little messages from the universe all the time that, anytime, like today, I totally did not want to go to the gym. I love the gym. I have so much to do. I'm tired. I'm like, freak, I'm training 6 days a week now. I just didn't want to go. I didn't want to go. But I went, and I was there, and some guy came in. It was very apparent that he had had a stroke. and he was on a cane. He was using a cane. And my heart felt for him so much. And then I was like, shame on you, Abby. Get your ass over there and
There you go.
pump out some layers.
Yeah.
But the universe sends you
Yeah.
messages like that because for me, I want to have a quality of
Yeah.
life.
Correct.
You know, I don't want, I mean, God forbid, I mean, something like that could, God forbid, happen, but I have power to limit the opportunities of things like that. I'm not welcoming them.
Mm.
I'm going to fight
Yeah.
to try to eliminate it.
Yeah.
So,
By the way, before I forget,
yeah.
I'm going to send you the link of a podcast
Okay.
where one of my stellar clients, I think he was the first one that I did back-to-back 5 days, one 5 days fasting, one eating. And in that podcast, we talk about and how he did it, and you can look at him right there, him, and he speaks very, very highly of it. I'll give you that link, and if someone wants to go watch that podcast too, it's very interesting to hear it from the mouth of the person that did it.
Well, I could put it in the show notes
Yeah.
if it's okay by that person.
Yeah.
If you want to check it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put all your information in the show notes, but as we're wrapping up, how do people obviously get in touch with you if they've decided, you know what, I like to give this a try? How do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, I offer a free consultation for two reasons. I want to know if we're compatible, if I can help you, and if you like me. I don't want to work with anybody that I cannot help. So we're gonna talk for half an hour, see how you feel about me, see how I feel you, and we decide whether we want to work together. You just gotta go to ketoandfastingcoach.com. ketoandfastingcoach.com. That's where you can get that. While you're there, look at all the testimonials there. You can see a lot of pictures. And then, once you decide that you want me as a coach, we'll get you started, and hopefully you'll become another of my walking billboards.
I love it. And I'll have all that information in the show notes
Thank
as well. So thank you so much, JJ. Together, we're trying to help change the lives of people and help them live better lives and feel good, because it's such a good feeling to know that you're working hard and doing your best to be healthy.
The way you feel, the way I feel is something that we want to share. I want to make people feel the way I feel now, because I know how I felt before and I don't want to go back. And as soon as my pants get a little tight, I remind me of that, and boom, another fast, because I'm not going to let it happen.
Right, exactly. And I feel like, together we can make a little bit of a difference. So thank you so much for taking the time. We'll have to have you on again. That hour flew by. Yes,
I know. We're going to have a third part now.
We'll have to have a third part.
Bring it.
Thank you so much. So thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Your Fitness Chick podcast. As always, I'm here to inspire, uplift, educate, and motivate you to become your best self. Hey, it's Abby, your fitness chick. Thanks for checking out today's episode. With your continued support, I can keep creating inspiring episodes just like this one. So be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. To stay motivated all week long, be sure to follow me on all my social media platforms. The links for those can be found in the show notes. Check out my website by visiting www.yourfitnesschick.com. And I'd like to thank my production company, Coraggio Media, but most of all you, my listeners, for helping to inspire me each and every day. I'll see you on the next episode.